Good evening, Gills fans. Welcome back to another episode of Gills in the Blood TV. After a 10-day or so hiatus for cup games and other reasons, we are back, and the league games do return this coming Saturday after FA Cup weekend last time around. And I'm pleased to say, ahead of our trip to the Mem to take on Bristol Rovers this coming weekend, I'm joined by Gas fan Charlie Hayne. I'll put his details down there, as I always do. And he is part of the brilliant Talking Gas podcast. So I'll put the Twitter handle, X handle, whatever they call it these days, in the description as well. So please go and check out Charlie's X profile and also the podcast as well for all your Bristol Rovers content before, during, and after this weekend's game and throughout the season. Charlie, we've just been chatting. Firstly, welcome to the channel. We couldn't decide whether you'd actually been on mine before or whether we've appeared on other people's or yours, and we seem to think this might be your debut on Gills in the
Yeah,
Blood. So welcome to the channel, mate.
yeah. Thanks. Yes, yeah. It's really good to be on. Yeah, debut as well. Yeah, pleasure. So yeah, good to be chatting all things gas and Gills.
Yeah, because we just said off air, didn't we? It's been a few years since we played each other. You sort of went up as we went down, and the
Yeah,
last time we met was in that COVID season when everybody was watching through laptops and TV screens, which was
yeah,
not fun for anybody. Um, yeah, it's fair to say it's been a tough few weeks for both clubs after certainly a very good start for my team.
yeah,
Yours, we'll get to in more detail, has been very up and down, but over the last six, it's not great reading for either side. It's 4 points from 18 for both clubs. Your 4 points have come in the way of a draw against Colchester and a victory against Salford. And then it's been four defeats on the spin in the league against Walsall, MK Dons, Tranmere, and Crawley. And more concerningly, those last three have seen you ship four in each game. So, yeah, like I say, 4 points from the last 18 for Darrell Clarke's men. Currently sits 16th in the table with 17 points. Gills started off a run of their last six with a win at Newport, which took us to 21 games unbeaten. And of course, the nature of football, it bites you on the arse. We've not actually won a football match since then of any description, league or cup. Since then, we've lost to Harrogate, MK Dons, Grimsby, and Salford, and our only point has come against Cheltenham. Which actually looks a better result now than it did at the time, I think,
yeah,
because they've really picked up, to be fair to them. Yeah. So, same amount of points over the last half dozen, and we're eighth on 22 points from 14. So, still in and around the playoff places. I want to ask you, can you put your finger on why your start to the season has been weird? Because it's gone drastically wrong in the last three. We all lose football matches, I get
yeah,
that. And MK Dons are a good side. If you lose 4-0 to MK Dons, you just go, fair enough. They've got good players. But then Tranmere at home, Crawley 4-0 as well. And you have to remember that you've conceded 12 in three games after only
hmm
conceding 13 in your first 11 football matches in League
yeah.
Two. Can you put your finger on it? Is there injuries? Has there been suspensions? Is there a change of system? Or is it just a mystery? And secondly, how concerning is that given the last two teams we've mentioned, with all due respect, Crawley and Tranmere Rovers, they're in the bottom third of the table. It's not like you're losing to sides that are flying up the top end.
Yeah. I can't really put my finger on it. It's a weird one because obviously the first four games in all comps we lost started
Hmm.
horribly. Then we went on a really good unbeaten run, eight in all comps, seven in the league. Uh, Played some, yeah, but even then though, and I'm sure other Rovers fans will tell you this, we weren't even playing that well during that unbeaten run, even though we picked up some really good results, got some good points. We were sort of on a high, especially after the Salford game where Southwood saved the penalty last minute. I think we
Hmm.
were probably top seven at the time. But like you said, it feels a million miles away. Like the last, especially the last three, but since half time at Walsall, because Walsall first half, we were outstanding. Went 1-0 up. Caven, who's been on fire for us, got the goal. But then it all changed. Like second half, didn't have a shot on target. Of course, we ended up losing that
Hmm.
game. They come from a goal down to win the game. And since then, yeah, it's especially the last three. And the worst thing about it is that they've gradually got worse and worse and worse. Like the Crawley game was horrific. We obviously got a red card, Jack Sparks with a silly handball, but then second half, the, there was really nothing to get behind, and obviously all the fans, were fuming. I was one of the 700 odd that travelled there. It was appalling. But like you mentioned, the two home games back to back before that, conceding 8 goals, 4-1 to Tranmere, 4-0 to MK. You know, yeah, it's gradually got worse and worse. There is a few injuries, but I wouldn't put it down to, yes, some of them you could say are important players, but on the other hand, I think the thing with our team, and I get, every game is a different game. You could change formation, but I would say we don't have a certain style of play. And if you look at all those other games as well, the ones that we've lost, there's been a different formation. So there's not been a settled side. Yes, a couple of injuries can do that, but we've not stuck with one formation. We've not really got that one style. But yeah, it is very worrying, to answer it. Very worrying. We obviously got the win in the FA Cup. I was in there. I actually, of course, my luck, I was on holiday, so I actually missed the win. But it's looked really poor, because in those the last three losses, especially to Tranmere, MK, and Crawley, like I mentioned, it's got worse and worse. But also, there's sort of been a lack of fight, leadership, doing the basics of football. There's not really been any accountability, and yeah, very worrying indeed. Because, like you said, coming to this game, even though we won against Bromley, and it's a very, very good win. Especially, I don't think they've lost at home for months, and obviously they went on the best of form. But to go there and win is brilliant. But like other gassheads, I'm not really sure what to expect. It's quite funny as well, actually, because in our pod before the Walsall game, after the 8 games unbeaten, I was like, I back these players, which I still do. I backed Darrell. I think we got a great squad, and then we haven't won since. We've been absolutely appalling since. So I think there's a number of issues, consistency within the lineup and players, a couple of injuries, but I don't really know the main question and answer. I don't really know where it's come from. Like I said, in the unbeaten run, we were only playing well for one half. Like, we've not put in a full 90-minute performance yet this season. So that was the sort of worrying thing. And it was, you could, some Rovers fans were saying at the time it was sort of papering over little cracks, but the how poor we've been since. 14 goals conceded in the last 4 games. Obviously, no wins, 4 losses in a row. Yeah, it's not looking good. So I'm hoping it can change. But yeah, it's been terrible, especially that Crawley game. Like, it was one of the worst. It felt like it felt even worse than what we were last season. And last season, obviously, we were absolutely shocking and got relegated. So yeah, it was terrible.
Yeah, tricky, isn't it? Like you say, because if you had loads of injuries, you go, right, fair enough. There's not an excuse, but there's a reason behind the sudden drop off. But yeah, when you're struggling to find reasons why, it makes it a little bit more concerning. But let's rewind. And you've mentioned his name, and we can't go through an episode without talking about him. 6th of May was the day that it was announced that Darrell Clarke was coming home, so to speak.
Yeah.
He was reappointed to come back in as first team manager, and we know the success that he had previously: 2 promotions, Wembley appearances, all that type of thing. Follow all manner of Bristol Rovers fans who, were very excited about it. Obviously, at the time, the emotion would have been excellent news. You come off the back of a relegation season, you've got a returning hero coming home. But given now that it's sort of 4, 5, 6 months down the line, has the reaction changed? Not in the sense because of the form, but just the fact that it all felt very romantic at the time. Now that the cold reality of a season has hit in, is there, I suppose, a small concern that it was done based on a romantic point of view rather than just purely footballing views?
Yeah, definitely. I think it was definitely, yeah, because like you said, we'd come off the back of a horrific season, the worst I'd ever witnessed. And we've had relegations before, but that was the worst season in 18 years that I've been going home and away that I've seen. So I definitely, even at the time, I thought it was, but obviously when it was announced, all of us, well, mostly all of us were like, yes, he's back, the King's back, the Legend's back. But yeah, definitely, I think it's definitely papered over the cracks. There's been a lot of comments from everyone, really. Most Rovers fans have obviously questioned the ownership, what they've been like, the money that they've wasted on certain players and other issues as well. There were a lot of things about picking the team last season when we had Matt Taylor and Calder on, and still now a lot of people are frustrated in this sort of, because we've been on this losing run. It's obviously picked up again, the noise coming out. A lot of fans are like, what's going on and stuff like that. But it's definitely was a romantic. He was sort of, you could also say in two ways, because he's got us out of the league twice before. He knows the club, but obviously it's very, very different to when he was there.
Yeah, and
then
I didn't mean it
obviously
just
it's
in
been
the
out.
sense that you just bought him in because he did well like years ago.
Yeah,
He's still
yeah,
a competent manager. I entirely
yeah,
get that.
yeah,
But it was almost to me, it felt like the club needed a pick me up
yeah,
from
yeah,
top to
hundred
bottom.
percent.
So Darrell
Yeah,
Clarke's name just even being mooted
yeah,
around and then appointed meant that
yeah,
everybody sort of became a little bit more excited. And,
yeah,
you can still have a good season. Christ, we've only played 14
yeah, yeah.
games.
Still,
A long
yeah,
way to
still
go.
early.
But I
Yeah,
was just interested to see how it'd been gauged, like you say, because the questions only come up when you're not winning football matches. All the
yeah,
paper in over the cracks, they don't get talked about when you're winning
yeah,
1-0 because 3 points is 3 points regardless of how you get there. But yeah, I was just curious and
yeah,
yeah, it'd be interesting to see how it goes. But you've got to give him time at the end of the day, haven't you?
yeah,
It's
yeah,
not all entirely his squad. He's still
yeah.
got players there from the season when people
Yeah,
got
there's still a lot of
relegated. So
players.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's going to, and I know this is our fourth season in League Two now. It's not a league that you go into and you just jump straight back out of as a rule.
no,
So I know that you have to give him time.
yeah,
Um, don't chop and change managers. I mean, we've got that horrifically wrong over the last 3 or 4 seasons where we just
yeah.
keep, you
So
know,
have we.
chucking money at it and
Yeah,
chucking. Yeah, I mean, but in sense of you're now in League Two, so,
yeah,
so
yeah,
give
yeah,
him,
yeah,
give
yeah,
him, give him time and give
yeah,
him at least a couple of windows. Yeah. Um, you've already touched on it, Charlie. Season so far has been very inconsistent. You mentioned it. First three in the league, you didn't score, you didn't win a point.
hmm,
All your points then came in that 7 game unbeaten run, pulled you up
yeah,
to sort of, like you say, on the playoff, the cusp of the playoffs, if not in the playoffs. And then 4 defeats. It's just polar opposites, isn't it? So
yeah,
it must be frustrating because you're probably wondering what Bristol Rovers is going to turn up from week to week at the moment, aren't you?
yeah,
Whether
yeah.
you're going to get the good one that can put a big run together, or you're going to get the one that just rolls over and ships one, and then like buses 2 and 3, and suddenly you're taking Idings against some sides that shouldn't be beating Bristol Rovers. I dare to say with the players that you've got at your disposal.
Yeah, 100%. And that's the thing as well, especially the last. I mean, MK was bad. It was very. They're a good side. They were still missing a lot of players, but it was way too easy. But
Mm-hmm.
then when it happens again and again, and especially the way you know, I think Tranmere hadn't won for 9. Crawley, and the thing is, both of them only had 2 wins before that, and then they come and score 4 against us. And yeah, it's it's a weird one, very roller coaster of emotions. That's what I mean. A month ago, we were all there, amazing, everyone buzzing.
So will
The
we?
club sort of, yeah, the club felt like it was almost back. Happy times, winning. Good. Well, not good performances, but good results.
Mm-hmm.
Like I mentioned, that's the problem with us, and it sort of crept on us because, like I mentioned, like, we weren't playing amazing when we were getting these, because it can only sort of last so long, can't it? Like, you've been there
Mm-hmm.
yourself, and every other fan's been like it when you're winning games, but you're only playing well for sort of a half, or you're taking your minimal chances. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's one of the problems with us is that during that run, I think Fabrizio Caven had scored 4 goals in 4 games, and each of his shots on target went in. He was having 1 shot a game. Then obviously I think that's been a big thing, especially I would say obviously there was the whole stuff with Hutchinson, but even I think it's affected us over the last this season and last year, where creativity, like, we're not creating that many chances. Even the unbeaten run, like I mentioned, we were very clinical. But then when the chances dry up, and I think, like I mentioned, second half at Walsall, 0 on target.
Mm-hmm.
MK Dons, 1 on target. Tranmere, 2 on target. Crawley, we had a couple. So I think it's all sort of mounded onto one. And don't get me wrong, it's still early enough, that obviously it can change. But right now, especially going off the back of the league games, forget the FA Cup result for a
Mm-hmm.
minute, but the league games, like, it's almost like it's at rock bottom. Fans, shouldn't be leaving 20, 30 minutes early at home games, and Crawley away, it was starting to turn. I think it's amazing that we've won that game against Bromley, because none of us, even me, I'm tried, me and Josh, and
Mm-hmm.
all the other Rovers fans, we try and obviously be optimistic and positive, but even the most optimistic people are like, no, we're not getting nothing. And then obviously they surprised us with a win. So hopefully now that can do us the world of good. But like you said, what Rovers will turn up, I don't know.
Yeah, and that's the thing, isn't it? Like you say, it's beginning of the season. My sort of feelings towards Bristol Rovers were that you'd recruited well. I like the players that you brought in, but you probably haven't recruited at the top end of the pitch. And again, I'm a
Mm.
fan of a club that's struggled at the top end of the pitch for about half a decade now.
Yeah, yeah,
I think you started the season with Promise Omachiro as a centre forward. I think he's better from the side.
yeah,
Harrison, obviously, you bought in, knows Clarke was getting up to speed, wasn't starting football matches. And then, like you say, it was no coincidence. You bought in the lad Fabrizio Coven from Switzerland, I think it was. Was it
yeah.
was it Valutz or
FC,
something?
yeah, FC
FC
Vaduz,
Valutz.
yeah,
And then scores 4 in 4, you win the lot, and then no coincidence he's not scored in his last three, and you've not won a point. So
yeah,
I know there are coincidences, but let's talk about him because it's not a signing that we generally see League Two sides make, is it, from the
yeah,
Swiss League and that type of
yeah.
thing? And then after talking about him, we obviously have to talk about Tom Lockyer because we've seen him,
Mm,
get to the very top of the game after starting at Bristol Rovers, went to Charlton, ended up in the Premier League with Luton, and then had that horrific couple of years where he was, wasn't sure whether he was going to be able to play again because of these heart issues. But yeah, talk to us about Coven first. How impressed you've been with him? How that move came about? If 'cause it's not general that League Two clubs are scouting Swiss teams, and then obviously again similar to Clarke, there's obviously a romantic aspect to Lockyer coming back. But are you still hoping that he's maybe too good for League Two if you can keep him fit?
mm. Yeah, Fabrizio. Yeah, he's been a breath of fresh air, really. Like you said, there was a couple of, really late, really, just before we signed him, there were a couple of rumours saying it was him. But, like pretty much every other Rovers fan, I'd like to think I know my stuff, but I didn't have a clue who he was. I had to do my research and stuff. But yeah, he's been brilliant. He's already got more goals than our top goal scorer got last year, by the way. Our joint two top goal scorers last year got 6 each, and he's got 7 after his FA Cup goal in all comps and 5 in the league.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think the one thing I will say that is brilliant from him is the movement. He's never stood still. He's always, he's quite a small player, but very quick, very clinical. It's just obviously work ethic. You say that about, but he's always there, always on the last man. Movement is outstanding. And what I will say, if the rumored fee was around 300,000-400,000 pound, but one thing I will say, if he carries on like he is now, and for example, and he'll probably have interest in January as early as that because he's been like by far our best player. But if he carries it on, and like for example, even if we did go up, say, he won't be here very long. So yeah, shout out to the recruitment team. But yeah, he's been a breath of fresh air, pace, movement, outstanding, and a lot of his goals, very very good. Even the goal and assist, he got on the weekend, like right place for the header, but then the assist pretty much put Cottrell on a plate for him. But then Lockyer, yeah, it feels because obviously Lockyer is a couple of years, well, 1 year older than me now, and so when he come through the youth academy, sort of get with those players sort of similar age, and you have that sort of the thought thinking, yeah, he's a player. Been here, we obviously took him on after Cardiff, released him, and he's worked his way up. He was in an awful Rovers side. He got back-to-back promotions, got promoted from the National League. Then, like you said, went to Charlton, Luton. Outstanding. They loved him. If you want a player that will run through a brick wall, it's him.
Hmm.
And he was obviously here for a very long time. Over 300 appearances, and then him coming back. He played a couple of games. He captained the side on Saturday in the FA Cup win, and yeah, hopefully, I think he played a few games with Luton, in sort of friendly matches and stuff like that. So yeah, it's amazing to see him back, and hopefully, the more he plays, obviously he's been coming off really the last couple of games, obviously not having played,
Of course, yeah.
first team matches, but I think it should do the world of good for the team, the squad. Obviously, Darrell knows him. Every Rovers fan that have watched him, he, outstanding player, outstanding human being, but also, you know, on the pitch, he'll give absolutely everything, and he's such a role model and such a leader. And obviously, it shows what sort of type of guy he is. That, you know, he's come off, like you said, 2 heart attacks, and now he's back playing in, boyhood. You know, we've been here for years, so brilliant to see him back, and hopefully more games brings that sort of mentality, leadership. And yeah, it's amazing to see him back, because, like I said, you know, when I was younger, he was there. You sort of look at him in your team, and yeah, it's brilliant. So hopefully it continues, more games, and hopefully more wins.
Well, of course, I hope he has a shocker on Saturday if he plays. But obviously, with the recent news with our gaffer having to go in for major
Yeah,
surgery as well, obviously, wish him all the best, and I hope he stays fit and is able to have a positive impact, because situations like that, we always say it, don't we? Like, it doesn't matter what your colours are. There's things that are more important. So fingers crossed he can
yeah,
stay fit and keep himself healthy. I want to rewind to 2nd of August, 9 a.m. That would have been the first day of the season. What was your ambitions then for the new campaign? Bearing in mind, like we mentioned, it's difficult to go straight back up out of this division once you've been relegated. There's a hangover because essentially you're a football club that's forgotten how to win football matches. And second part of the question, has that ambition changed now, given your very inconsistent start to the season?
yeah. So I went fully in. I was like, yeah, we'll go straight back up, because we've done it. We've been lucky enough to do it the last 2 times we've got relegated to League Two. We've gone straight back up. We've done it with DC, and then we've done it with Joey Barton. So I thought, look at the squad. One thing a lot of us did say at the start of the season, which could, and what is biting us on the backside at the moment, is that, and I'm not sure if it's, if it's DC coming out and saying it, or, the talk of owners and whatever, but DC said that he wanted a small squad. And, we've got, I think, 3 players, maybe 4. And, you're looking on the bench and seeing like a lot of young players and sort of players that should be out on loan, etc. So yeah, start of the season, I said third, like I did the other 2 times we were in League Two. But yeah, I would say it's changed, because what I've seen at the moment, it's like you said, last season was horrific in so many ways, and there's, like you said, there's still a lot of players left. The last couple of times we've gone down, we've managed to get rid of, a lot of them quite quickly. But yeah, this time, there's players on big wages, even though they would have had a wage cut after getting relegated. But yeah, because it was so bad, and now we're on. I say it right now because, my emotions have been, especially in the last month, have been from amazing to almost not wanting to go to football anymore, sort of that sort of feeling. Obviously, I'd still keep going, but I still think we could, but I'm definitely feeling not as optimistic as I was at the start of the season, just because of how poor we've been. But I'm hoping, can get back on track, sort a few things out. But I still think we will. But obviously at the moment it's not looking, and we're still fairly close. I mean, even, with you guys, I think we're 5 points off you, and we go 2 points behind you if we win. But it's still early-ish days. But I'm hoping now, because obviously we didn't win last month, it was horrific. So I'm hoping now we can kick on. But I definitely feel a lot less optimistic, but I still believe, and I still think, maybe that's me being the really positive person, I still think we will end up going up, hopefully, anyway, touch wood.
No, I had you third in my pre-season predictions as well, and I had us 6th. So obviously we're 8th, so we're a bit closer to where I want us to be at the moment. But yeah, there's a long way to go, but the concern, isn't it, is the longer that winless run goes, and we're on 7 in all competitions after going ridiculous amounts unbeaten, without defeat, is mad. But that's football. We've all watched it long enough to know that, like you say, you start getting excited, and then it has this habit of bringing you back down with a crash, doesn't it? So, yeah, it was just interested. So, final couple of bits, mate, before we blow full time, I'll let you go and enjoy your evening. Since 2007, the Gas and the Gills have met 17 times, 10 wins for the Gills, 4 draws and 3 wins for Bristol Rovers. Gills have scored 34 times, 16 goals for the Gas. And at the Mem, in that same period, 9 games, 3 wins for the Gills, 4 draws and 2 wins for Rovers. Gills have scored 13. Gas have scored 10. Gills have scored in all but one fixture in that time. 1 out of 19 is the only time. And as we mentioned, I think before we press record, that was the day at Priestfield when Johnson Clark Harris smashed in an absolute howitzer from about 35 yards.
Yeah.
Um, I think we're both trying to be positive, but not overly positive because of the recent form. But what's your score prediction? Who's going to be smiling the most, if any of us, at 5 o'clock Saturday afternoon?
Um, I'm not sure, to be honest. Yeah, like you said, we mentioned, well, it seems to happen with a lot of teams we play, but yeah, I just remember so many nightmares. I remember Dion Burton scoring a brace at the men when it was him and Danny Kedwell. The
That's the
COVID
season we won the
season,
league. Yeah, I think that was
yeah,
the
yeah,
season we won
season you
League
won the
Two. Yeah,
league. That Akinde bracelet on, when you had
Priestfield.
Graham in the COVID season, Vladane Oliver absolutely bullying us and bullying Maxima when we signed you.
Yeah, I do
There's
remember
just
that
been
game. Yeah.
there's so many games I can remember like it was yesterday. Even going to your place, I've 4-0, 4-1, Cody McDonald. So, but like you said, now,
Do you remember the Mark Byrne volley
oh yeah, oh
from
my
the
god,
corner?
yeah.
That was
Honestly,
astonishing.
there's
Absolutely
just so
astonishing. Yeah.
many. There is so many. I mentioned obviously before we went, live. We haven't beat you at home in 9 years, and we haven't beat you in away or beat you in any game since that Clarke Harris goal. So records are to go by. It looks like a Gillingham win, but I'm hoping that win will give us confidence and obviously your run of form. But it's like almost Tranmere and Crawley though, because they went on a good run of form and it was an easy 3 points. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen again. I hope we don't concede 4 again. Only because I don't want to say we'd lose again. If I was being really honest,
Mm-hmm.
I would probably say a loss. I would probably, considering our league form and our form against you, I'd probably say 2-0 Gillingham. But obviously in my head, I'm thinking, I'm praying that win will at least give us something because our fans, every single guy said, needs something, especially at home, because don't forget, we conceded 8 goals in the last 2, and we've not played at home since that Tranmere battering. So we're going back home after witnessing those 2 performances, conceding 8 goals. So yeah, I'll go really honest, and I'll go 2-0 Gillingham.
Fair
Yeah,
enough. Yeah, I was sort of torn between heart and head, and then you try and look at the current form and you try and look at our record against there. If there's such a thing as a bogey side, we might be it for you. So I've
yeah.
written down to prove that I didn't just make it up. Have I got it in screen? Where have I put it? There it is.
There you go. Yeah,
I've said 2-1 Gills, but I don't think a draw would be a disaster for either team. It just gets us back moving the right way again
yeah,
after
yeah.
back-to-back defeats. So
I'll definitely take a point, 100%, 100%.
I think I
Obviously, we
wouldn't be
need that.
I wouldn't be disaster a point for us either because then we've got 2 fairly winnable home games after that, and then we go Shrewsbury end of the month. So November, I think, is a month where it's not season defining for us, but I think we play you, then we've got Barnet and Crawley at home, and then we go Shrewsbury. So if we fail to win any of them, then I'd start being a bit concerned about where we're going. But if you can pick up 7, 8 points, then suddenly promotion's a real possibility again.
Yeah,
Anyway, Charlie, it's been a real pleasure, mate. Really appreciate your time and your knowledge about your football team because that's what we get you on for. That's what we get any opposition fan on. Gills fans, Gas fans, if you are still watching at this point, thank you very much. It really is appreciated. Please consider going down there, pressing like. I'm going to go for 80 likes on this preview show. So if you can go down there, hit that. While you're down there, there is a subscribe button. Please press that as well. We're close to 4,000. There will be a giveaway, and that's open to all fans, not just Gillingham fans when we get to 4K. Myself, Nick, Ava, and Stocky will be at the Mem on Saturday for a match day live. So come over and say hello. Give us your score predictions before the game. Looking forward to getting back to it after a week off last weekend. And of course, the most important thing, enjoy the rest of your week and up the Gills.